Ever wonder why the leeks at fancy restaurants are perfectly white, melt-in-your-mouth tender, and super sweet, while the ones pulled from a backyard garden can sometimes be, well, tough and bitter? It's not magic. It's a very specific gardening trick. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute game changer for leek growers, mastering the art of earthing up to get professional-level yields right at home.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the magic of earthing up, move into the step-by-step soil method, and then check out some really cool household physical barrier hacks. After that, we'll cover proper care and troubleshooting, wrap up with harvesting and winter storage, and finally go over a few quick disclaimers. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The magic of earthing up and the science behind the sweetness.
So, I've got to ask, why are those white leek stems so incredibly prized by chefs in the first place? I mean, look at a leek anatomically. It's basically just a bunch of tightly overlapping leaves forming a false stem. But the physical difference between the green part, soaking up the sun, and the hidden white part, it's literally night and day.
The folks over at Hobby Farms hit the nail on the head. They say, although the green portions of leeks can be eaten, it's the succulent white stalks that are prized. See, when sunlight hits that plant, it kicks off chlorophyll synthesis. That gives you the green color, sure, but it also makes the texture tough, super fibrous, and noticeably bitter. The white stems? Totally different story. They're tender, sweet, and juicy. Basically, the more white you have on that stalk, the more useful it is in the kitchen.
This brings us to a really cool scientific concept called artificial etiolation. Earthing up is literally just a highly practical way to trigger this process. By intentionally blocking sunlight from the stem, we're forcing the plant to stop synthesizing chlorophyll right there in that specific area. And the payoff? Those highly desirable, low-fiber, high-sugar, perfectly pale tissues. All right, so we know the why. Let's get into the how.
Section 2. The step-by-step soil method. This is the traditional path.
Now, you might be tempted to start mounding dirt the second you put your leeks in the ground, but hold on. Agronomic studies are super strict on this. Timing is absolutely crucial. You must wait until that stem reaches the thickness of a pencil, so about 8 to 9 millimeters, and roughly 20 to 30 centimeters high. If you jump the gun and start earlier, you're actually going to stunt the poor plant's growth by burying the leaves it needs to photosynthesize.
Okay, so your leeks are pencil thick. Here's your game plan. Step 1. Wait for that top layer of soil to dry out completely. We'll get into exactly why that matters in a bit. Step 2. Take some loose soil from between your rows and gently mound 5 to 8 centimeters of it around the base of the plant. Step 3, and this is vital. Never mound past the first true leaves. Finally, you'll want to repeat this gradual process 2 to 3 times over the season.
But seriously, stop right there and pay attention to step 3. This is the most common pitfall out there. If you get overzealous and mound dirt above where those first true leaves branch out, fine dirt will fall straight down into the leaf axials. That causes mechanical damage, it invites rot, and honestly, you're guaranteeing yourself a really crunchy, gritty mouthful of dirt when you finally cook them up.
Section 3. Household Physical Barrier Hacks. Let's look at some innovative solutions.
If lugging heavy soil around and risking gritty leeks doesn't sound like a fun weekend to you, don't worry. Clever gardeners have come up with a brilliant alternative. Instead of dirt, you can use physical barriers, basically little collars wrapped around the stem. This perfectly blocks the light, keeps abrasive soil particles out of your harvest, and as an awesome bonus, it upcycles household waste.
So what can you use? It's amazingly simple stuff you probably already have lying around. Hobby Farms lists a few really accessible options. You can use 5 sheets of newspaper, wrap them twice around the base, and tie it loosely with twine so the plant can still grow. You can slice empty paper towel rolls lengthwise and slip them right over the stalk. You can even take the discarded lids of paper egg cartons and cut a little V-notch in them. Or you can use empty milk or orange juice cartons.
Let's zoom in on that milk carton method for a second because it is a total game changer. It takes a tiny bit more effort up front, but yields incredibly clean, beautifully tall white stems. Just cut the top and bottom off the carton, then slide it down over the leek. You can do this when the plant is young and slowly fill it with compost or sand as a prose, or if you've got mature leeks, slide it over, fill it to the top all at once, and just let it sit there for 4 to 8 weeks before harvest. It is a perfect light-blocking barrier.
Section 4. Proper care and troubleshooting. Overcoming obstacles.
There is nothing more frustrating than putting in all this work, thinking you're doing everything right, and then suddenly asking yourself, why are my leeks suddenly rotting at the base?
The answer almost always comes down to soil moisture during the mounding process.
Agronomic studies draw a hard line here. You must never, ever earth up with wet soil. Look, leeks have shallow roots, and they definitely need plenty of water, usually 12 to 14 deep waterings a season to maintain that 80 to 90% field capacity. But if you pack wet, heavy mud against the stems, you're blocking all the aeration. You literally suffocate the root system, creating an absolute playground for bacterial and fungal rot. Always wait for that topsoil to dry before you push it up against the plant.
You also got to keep an eye out for pests and diseases. Seeing yellow spots on your leaves? That's rust. A really surprising prevention trick is to simply avoid planting leeks anywhere near poplar or willow trees because they actually host the rust pathogen. Then you've got the leek minor fly. If you're dealing with those, treat the plants before they lay their eggs, typically in early to mid-April and again in early July. And as a golden rule for any garden, maintain good spacing. It keeps the air flowing and naturally cuts down on humidity and disease.
Section 5. Harvesting and winter storage. It is time to reap the rewards. Before we talk about how to store them, here is a really fascinating fact. Leeks contain a massive amount of dry matter, up to 22%. Because they have that dense cellular structure, they aren't just great for eating fresh. They hold up amazingly well for long-term winter storage, and they are phenomenal candidates if you want to dry them for homemade spice blends.
And the best part is, whether you've got a sprawling homestead or a cozy apartment, you can absolutely store these guys all winter. Got a yard? Dig a traditional slope trench outdoors. Stand the leeks upright, cover about 2/3 of the stem with sand, and top it with straw when it freezes. In an apartment? Grab a deep box for your enclosed balcony or cellar. Trim the roots back, wrap the stems in newspaper, and bury them in deep river sand. Or, keep it super simple, slice those blanched white stems 1.5 centimeters thick, drop them in boiling water for exactly 2 minutes, shock them in ice water, and toss them in the freezer. They'll keep for up to 8 months.
Section 6. Conclusion and important disclaimers. Wrapping up.
Just a quick professional disclaimer before we go. While the core science of etiolation works the same everywhere, agriculture is always local. You definitely need to adapt these methods to your own local soil, your climate, and your specific gardening conditions. And hey, if you're hitting weird local challenges, never hesitate to reach out to local horticultural experts for advice.
All right, let's lock in those key takeaways for a perfect harvest. Number 1, be patient. Wait for your leeks to reach that 8 to 9 millimeter pencil thickness before starting. Number 2, never ever mound dirt past the branching point of those first true leaves. Number 3, if you can't stand gritty vegetables, try upcycling household barriers like milk cartons for perfectly clean stems. And finally, keep the plants hydrated, but only ever mound dry soil against the stem to prevent rot.
So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. Which earthing up method are you going to try in your garden this season? Are you sticking with the traditional soil mounding, or are you feeling adventurous enough to try the milk carton hack for a flawlessly clean stem? Drop a comment and let us know. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy growing!